When did I start feeling less like me? It wasn't sudden. There was no dramatic moment, just a quiet realization that crept in during a morning routine that had felt the same for years. You're brushing your hair, maybe sipping your coffee, when you catch a glimpse in the mirror. And for a second, you pause. It's not the wrinkles, not the gray hairs either. It's something harder to define, a feeling. I don't quite look like myself anymore. You tilt your head, adjust your posture, maybe try a small smile, hoping it brings you back to something familiar. But that sense of recognition, it's not there, not like it used to be. And here's the truth. It's not about age. It's not about chasing youth. It's about connection with yourself. See, for most of your life, your reflection has been a quiet mirror of your identity. You knew that face, that presence, that energy, but lately something shifted. Not in a tragic way, just subtly. And maybe, just maybe, it's not because of age. It might be your hair. That sounds small, right? Trivial even, but hair isn't just hair. It frames us, literally and emotionally. It moves with us, reflects us. And when that reflection starts to feel disconnected from who we are inside, it matters. Because your hair isn't just about style, it's about story. There was a time when your hairstyle said, "I'm bold," or "I'm carefree," or "I'm here to take on the world." And maybe now, without even realizing it, it's saying something else. Something like, "I don't have time," or "I don't really care anymore." Or worse, "I'm trying to look like someone I used to be." We don't do this intentionally. Life happens, careers evolve, kids grow up, bodies change, and slowly, quietly, we start holding on to the familiar. Not because it's right for us now, but because it once was. That's how we end up with the same haircut we had 10, 15, even 20 years ago. Not because it still fits, but because it once did. And change? Change feels risky. But what if that very hairstyle, that comfort zone, is actually what's making you feel off? What if the reason you don't recognize yourself isn't the wrinkles, or the weight, or the passing years, but the fact that your outer image hasn't caught up with your inner evolution? Here's the truth. You've grown. You've deepened. You've gained perspective, grace, and presence. But if your hair is still stuck in the past, it's sending a message that doesn't align with the woman you are today. And that disconnect, it's not just visual, it's emotional. You see, when our outer appearance reflects our current truth, there's a kind of alignment that feels peaceful, whole, like coming home. But when our look is outdated, not because of fashion, but because of fit, we feel that misalignment every time we pass a mirror. Every time someone snaps a photo, every time we get ready for a moment that matters. This is not about looking younger. This is about looking like yourself again. The you of today, not 10 years ago, not 20, not the version that played a role for others, mother, wife, professional, but the version that's present now. The one that's still growing, still vibrant, still here. You may not even realize the role your hair plays in all of this, but think back. When you got a haircut that really suited you, the right length, the right shape, didn't you walk a little taller? Didn't you smile more easily, look people in the eye with more confidence? That wasn't vanity, that was alignment, harmony between who you are and what the world sees. And when that's gone, it's like wearing clothes that don't quite fit. You might look fine to others, but inside you feel slightly off, slightly self-conscious, slightly unsure. Hair can do that, or rather, the wrong hair can. So let's pause here, not to criticize, not to shame, but to ask with honesty and compassion. When was the last time your hair felt like it matched your energy, your spirit, your present self? Not your calendar age, but your lived experience, your mindset, the quiet wisdom you've earned. Too often, we see women over 50 disappear into hairstyles that do one of two things. They either try too hard to recreate youth, or they completely give up. Neither of those reflects the real woman inside. You're not trying to be 25 again, and you're not invisible either. You are fully here, with history, with heart, with humor, with heat. So what if your hair could reflect that? What if, instead of being a leftover choice from years past, your hairstyle became a celebration of where you are now? Hair has a memory, a story, and sometimes what we wear on our heads still echoes old chapters. Times we've outgrown, stories we no longer tell. That's okay. It's human. But it also means we have the power to edit the narrative. And it starts with awareness, a moment, a glance in the mirror that leads to a question. Does this still serve me? Maybe it did once. Maybe it was perfect for a version of you who had toddlers in tow, who worked double shifts, who had no space to think about herself. But is that still you? Because if you've changed, and you have, your hair deserves to change with you. Not to become trendy, not to impress anyone, but to match your soul, your softness, your strength. You deserve to see yourself again, to look in the mirror and say, yes, that's me. Not a ghost of the past, not a watered-down version, but the full, living, evolving you. So before we dive into the 5 hairstyles that may be working against you, let's just take a moment together to remember what it feels like to feel like yourself. That feeling isn't gone, it's just waiting for you to look again, to see not what was, but what is, and what could be if you chose to show up fully, starting from the top. Let's begin. The beauty we grew into, not out of. Let's take a moment to be honest about something most women over 50 feel, even if we rarely say it out loud. There's a cultural script that tells us beauty fades, that it belongs to youth, that once you cross a certain age, your job is to fade quietly into the background, to accept invisibility with grace. But that script? It's outdated, and more importantly, it's wrong, because beauty doesn't fade. It changes, it deepens, it shifts from something you wear on the outside to something you carry from the inside. And the women who understand that, they radiate a kind of presence that no wrinkle, no gray hair, no laugh line can ever diminish. This isn't a motivational slogan, it's lived experience. Think about the most captivating woman you know in her 60s, 70s, even 80s. She may not fit society's outdated definition of beautiful, but there's something about her. Something in the way she carries herself, the way she laughs, the way she looks you straight in the eye. That's beauty. It's the kind of beauty that comes from self-knowing, from wisdom, from having walked through joy, heartbreak, transformation, and still choosing to show up fully. But here's the catch. Even though we may feel that kind of beauty inside, we don't always see it reflected back in the mirror, especially when our outer presentation is frozen in a past version of ourselves. When your hairstyle, your color, your cut, your shape, no longer matches the woman you've become, it creates a visual tension. You're not trying to pretend you're younger, but your style may be stuck in a time warp, and that can quietly chip away at your confidence. Because when there's a mismatch between how you feel and how you look, the world picks up on it, even if you don't say a word. Now let's be clear, reinvention isn't the goal here. Reinvention implies you need to become someone new. You need to remember someone. The you who's still evolving, still learning, still bold enough to make a new choice, even in your 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond. That's what this next part is about. Not trying to go back in time, but choosing hairstyles that honor where you are now and give you the space to keep becoming. Because you are not less beautiful than you once were. You are more layered, more complex, more alive. And the right hairstyle doesn't make you someone else. It simply lets the real you step forward, fully seen. So as we explore these 5 hairstyles that may no longer be serving you, let's agree on something first. This isn't about criticism. It's not about chasing youth. It's about alignment between the woman you are today and the way you show up in the world. Let's continue. Mistake 1, the convenience trap, the always pulled back ponytail. Let's start with a style that seems harmless, practical, easy, the always pulled back ponytail. You know the one, it's fast, it's familiar, it gets the job done, and on days when your to-do list is longer than your patience, it feels like the only choice. But here's the thing, what starts as convenience often becomes invisibility. Over time, that simple ponytail, whether it's high, low, or somewhere in between, begins to tell a story you didn't mean to tell. It says, I gave up. Now let's be clear, you didn't actually give up. You're busy, you're doing a million things. You don't always have the time or energy to style your hair. That's real, that's human. But what we wear every day becomes our signature. And when our signature is a style that pulls everything back, hides our hairline, exposes thinning areas, and emphasizes the downward pull of age, it quietly reinforces the idea that we're fading. Pulled back styles can highlight things that we don't want to emphasize, like a softening jawline, or temples where the hair is thinning, or the natural droop that happens with time. Instead of lifting the face, the pulled back ponytail drags it down. And beyond that, it lacks softness, it lacks motion, it lacks presence. Hair, when left to move around the face, even just a little, creates visual flow. It frames, it lifts, it brings attention to your eyes, your smile, your energy. But a tight ponytail, it flattens, it freezes, it says, this is as good as it's going to get. And here's the kicker. Even if you do it out of convenience, your reflection starts absorbing the message. You see that ponytail in the mirror and start believing it. I'm too tired to care. This is fine. This is just what women my age do. But none of that is true. You still care. You still want to feel vibrant, even if quietly, and you absolutely deserve to. So let's talk about alternatives, because giving up the ponytail doesn't mean spending an hour in front of the mirror. It just means being more intentional. Try a soft twist, secured low with a decorative clip. Let a few strands fall gently around the face. Try a half-up style that gives structure without severity. Try air-dried waves with a touch of product. Something that says, I'm effortless, but still present. The goal isn't perfection, it's presence. When your hair reflects even a little care, a little shape, a little movement, people notice. More importantly, you notice. You feel different. You carry yourself differently. Because it's not about vanity, it's about identity. So if the ponytail has become your default, your uniform, your quiet resignation, just ask, is this really serving me? Not every day needs to be a hair day, but every reflection deserves to feel like you. Let's keep going. Mistake 2, the one color forever mindset. Over-darkened hair dye. Let's talk about color, specifically that deep, dense, flat black that so many women hold on to after 50, convinced it's keeping them looking youthful, vibrant, strong. Black hair can be stunning, dramatic, powerful. It commands attention. For many years, it may have been your signature, the color that made you feel confident, unshakable. But here's the honest truth. After a certain age, that same rich black can quietly start working against you. It's not about the color itself, it's about the contrast. As we age, our skin changes. It softens, loses pigment. The undertones shift, sometimes slightly, sometimes dramatically. That vibrant flush we once had becomes more delicate, more translucent. And when you place a dense black frame, like dyed jet black hair, around a softening face, the effect can be harsh, unintentionally so. The dark hair doesn't lift your features anymore. It outlines every line, every shadow, every bit of unevenness. It draws attention to under-eye circles, smile lines, and hollow spots, even if they're subtle. The result? A look that feels heavier than it needs to be. And here's another thing. Black dye, especially when it's applied evenly all over, absorbs light. Instead of bouncing light off your hair to create dimension and movement, it flattens everything. So now you have both a color that's too bold for your skin's current tone and a finish that removes life from your hair. It's like wearing a gorgeous outfit in the wrong size. The intention is there, but the fit no longer works. And let's not forget about upkeep. Black dye is unforgiving. Even the slightest gray or white root pops out like a spotlight. You're left either touching up constantly or walking around with a stark line dividing your hair. A reminder that the look isn't quite natural anymore. So why do we hold on to it? Because black feels safe, familiar. It's what we've always done. But just because it worked once doesn't mean it still serves you. And the good news? You don't have to go full silver or platinum overnight. There's a middle ground, a place where depth meets softness, where the color around your face flatters your current skin tone instead of overpowering it. Think warm browns, soft chestnut, dimensional dark tones with caramel or honey highlights, subtle balayage that blends new growth instead of fighting it. You can even start with just a few lighter pieces around the face. It's amazing what that small shift can do, softening your overall look, lifting your features, and adding warmth where you need it most. This isn't about abandoning boldness, it's about redefining it. You can still be strong, still striking, still unmistakably you, just with color that supports your beauty instead of clashing with it. Because true confidence doesn't come from holding on to what once worked. It comes from knowing when to evolve. And when your hair color starts feeling more like armor than expression, it might be time to lay it down. Not because you've given up, but because you're choosing something better. Let's keep going. Mistake 3. Frozen in time. Over-teased high-volume hair. There's a certain kind of volume that used to be the definition of glamour. You know the one, teased roots, backcombed crowns, shellacked into place with half a can of hairspray. For decades, it was the go-to style for elegance, for polish, for done. But now, that same height, that same structure, can age you faster than a wrinkle ever could. Let's talk about why. Big hair doesn't move. And when your hair doesn't move, neither does your image. It's frozen, stuck in a time when that kind of height was trendy. Back in the 60s, 70s, maybe even the early 80s, volume equaled presence. It said, "I've arrived." But today it often says, "I haven't updated my style in 30 years." The problem isn't that the style is old, it's that it clashes with everything else that's changed. Your clothes, your makeup, your energy. When the rest of your look is more natural, more fluid, more modern, big hair feels out of sync. And more than that, it feels hard. Teased volume creates a rigid shape that doesn't respond to light or movement. It becomes a helmet, a shell. It draws attention to itself, not to you. And in doing so, it often emphasizes exactly what you want to soften. A changing hairline, thinning at the crown, a shorter or rounder face shape. The height pulls the eye upward in a way that can make the rest of your features feel diminished. It also adds effort where you don't need it. Because let's be honest, teasing, spraying, brushing out knots at night, nursing a sore scalp, it's exhausting. There's a better way, because volume can still be beautiful, needed even, but it has to be modern. Soft volume is the new lift. Movement is the new structure, and shape should follow your natural texture, not fight against it. Instead of teasing, try a root-lifting mousse. Use a round brush for gentle bounce, not sky-high elevation. Let your hair breathe. Let it sway. Let it respond to your energy, not resist it. Think gentle waves, a little lift at the crown, light layers that move with the air instead of fighting it. When your hair moves, you move. When your hair shines with light instead of reflecting product, you glow. And when your hair looks like it belongs to the woman you are, not the girl you once were, something powerful happens. You stop hiding behind a style. You start showing up as yourself. Big hair had its moment. It made you feel strong. That power is still in you. But now it doesn't need height. It needs honesty, softness, grace. And when you let go of the structure, you gain freedom. Let's keep going. Mistake 4. The ghost length. Long, stringy, lifeless hair. There's something romantic about long hair. It reminds us of youth, of freedom, of femininity. For many women, keeping their hair long feels like holding onto a part of themselves, the part that still feels vibrant and untamed. But long hair isn't automatically flattering, especially when it becomes thin, stringy, or shapeless. As we age, our hair changes. It becomes finer, drier, less dense. And when we leave it long without structure, without layers, without movement, it doesn't whisper softness. It signals surrender. It says, "I don't want to let go." But what people often hear is, "I've stopped caring." That's not the message you want to send, because you do care. Long hair that hangs flat against the face, drags down the shoulders, and tangles at the ends doesn't reflect vitality. It dulls it. It pulls your entire appearance downward. It creates a vertical line that emphasizes gravity. It narrows the face. It highlights volume loss. And it erases the beautiful structure and expression of your features. It's not just about age, it's about proportion. Your hair should support your face. Frame it, balance it, not overpower it, or disappear completely into the background. And here's the deeper truth. For many women, long hair becomes a hiding place, a curtain, a buffer between themselves and the world. A way to say, don't look too closely, but you deserve to be seen. Not hidden, not muted, seen. Seen in a way that reflects the woman you are, bold in her softness, confident in her presence, comfortable in her skin. Letting go of long, lifeless hair doesn't mean giving up beauty. It means redefining it. It means choosing a style that brings light back to your face. That moves with you. That says, I'm still becoming, and I want to show up fully. That doesn't have to mean going short. Shoulder-length cuts with soft ends, gentle layers, and a bit of shape can do wonders. They create lift, bounce, and dimension. They show off your neck, your jawline, your spark. It's not about cutting off the past. It's about opening space for the future. If your long hair has started to feel like a weight, Not a joy, but maybe it's time. Not to let go of your femininity, but to reclaim it in a new way. Because you don't need a curtain, you need a frame. Let's keep going. Mistake 5. The harsh cut, too sharp, no flow. There's a certain type of haircut that promises polish. Precision, power. It's the blunt bob with razor-straight edges, the sharply angled lob, the no-nonsense, no-layer, straight as an arrow cut. And it can look incredible on the right person, in the right moment. But for many women over 50, these ultra-sharp styles create more problems than they solve. Here's why. Haircuts with no softness can feel severe. They emphasize contrast instead of creating harmony. They draw hard lines around the face instead of lifting or framing it. When you have sharp ends and zero movement, you're essentially building a box around your face. And that box doesn't flex with you. It doesn't bend or sway or respond to your energy. It just sits there. That's fine if you're 25 with firm skin and dramatic makeup to balance it. But if your features have softened, which they should beautifully, then a harsh cut can feel like the wrong punctuation at the end of a new sentence. Instead of enhancing who you are now, it highlights what's changed, and not in a gentle way. It's not about fear of change. It's about choosing the right kind of change. Hair should move. It should have life, rhythm, and texture. It should echo the natural curves of your cheekbones, your jawline, your smile. But a sharp-edged cut removes that. It creates stillness, and not the peaceful kind. It's also a style that tends to age quickly. The precision requires constant upkeep. One bad hair day, one missed trim, and suddenly the whole look feels off, unkempt, harsh. What's more, these cuts often make fine or thinning hair look even thinner. There's no layering to add fullness, no dimension to reflect light, just a flat wall of hair with nowhere to go. That flatness can cast shadows onto the face, dulling your glow and pulling everything downward. So what's the alternative? Soft structure. That means cuts with gentle layers, blended ends, and a little bit of movement around the face. It could be a modern one with texture and body. It could be a lob, but not a stiff one that flows. You're not giving up sophistication, you're redefining it. You're choosing a style that says, I know who I am, and I've got nothing to prove. Because you've already done sharp. You've lived bold, you've shown up strong. Now it's time to show up soft. And let that softness speak louder than the edges ever did. Let's keep going. Why we hold on. The hair from our past selves. Let's pause for a moment. We've talked about the 5 hairstyles that might be holding you back. But now let's go deeper. Because it's not just about the cut or the color or the volume. It's about what those choices represent. Hair isn't just style. It's memory. It's identity. It's a timeline of our lives. That pixie you rocked when you were fearless. The long waves you wore when you fell in love. The layered cut you had while raising kids and building a life. Every style tells a story. So when we hold on to a hairstyle, even when it no longer serves us, it's often because it's tied to something bigger, something emotional. We're not just keeping the haircut, we're keeping the era, the feeling, the version of ourselves that felt alive, certain, beautiful. And that's powerful, but it can also be limiting because we're not the same women we were back then. We've grown, we've evolved, and while the memories are precious, we can't let them freeze us in place. There's nothing wrong with honoring the past, but we don't have to wear it every day. Sometimes we keep the same style because it feels safe, or because change feels risky, or because we don't know what else might work. Sometimes we fear that trying something new might say we're trying too hard, or worse, that we're admitting we've aged. But here's the truth. Trying something new doesn't say, I'm old. It says, I'm still here, still paying attention, still engaged, still interested in how I show up in the world. That's not vanity, that's vitality. We talk a lot about the importance of mindset as we age. Staying active, staying curious, staying connected. But we rarely talk about how our appearance plays into that. When we look in the mirror and see a version of ourselves that feels outdated, mismatched, or like a ghost of the past, that affects us. It affects how we walk into a room, how we carry ourselves, how we speak up or shrink back. So if you've been holding onto a style from 10 or 20 years ago, ask yourself, am I holding onto this because it still fits me today? Or because it reminds me of who I used to be? If it's the second one, that's okay. That version of you deserves to be remembered. She built the foundation of who you are now, but she's not the whole story. You're still writing new chapters, and your hair, your look, your presence, should evolve with you, not to chase youth, but to honor the richness of who you've become. Let's keep going. The gentle comeback. 3 youthful alternatives. Now that we've gently peeled back the reasons why certain styles no longer serve us, let's shift the energy. This isn't about leaving something behind, it's about stepping into something better, something that fits. Let's explore 3 hairstyles that don't try to turn back the clock, but instead move forward with elegance, softness, and strength. Because the right cut doesn't hide who you are, it reveals you. Let's begin. Alternative 1, the soft bob, effortless elegance. The soft bob isn't new, but the way it's worn today makes it feel brand new. Forget the boxy, rigid bob of years past. The modern soft bob is gentle, rounded, and slightly undone. The kind of style that works with your natural texture, not against it. It typically falls between the chin and the collarbone, with barely there layers that offer movement without chaos. It doesn't need a blowout or rollers. It air dries beautifully. It shapes the jawline, opens the face, draws attention to your eyes. And best of all, it's low maintenance. A little mousse, a little finger styling, and you're out the door. What makes the soft bob so powerful is its simplicity. It says, I'm present. It says, I care, but I'm not chasing. It's French-inspired, quietly chic, and completely timeless. Whether you've embraced your grays, blended them with highlights, or kept some warmth, this style makes the most of your natural color and lets it shine. Alternative 2, the textured lob, feminine, flowing free. Maybe you're not ready to go short. Maybe you love the feel of hair brushing your shoulders or the versatility of being able to tie it back. That's where the textured lob, the long bob, comes in. This style is a true in-between. Long enough to feel youthful, short enough to feel fresh. It adds movement without high effort. With soft waves or a light curl, it creates lift and energy around the face. It's especially flattering for thinning or fine hair. Layers can add volume without weight. A bit of dry shampoo or sea salt spray brings out texture. The lob frames the face without closing it in. It works on every face shape. You just adjust the length slightly to suit your features. And color? It comes alive here. Highlights, lowlights, gray blending. The movement of the lob gives your color space to dance. This isn't a haircut that demands attention. It earns it gently. Alternative 3, curtain bangs with soft layers. Fresh framing. Now let's talk about something many women over 50 immediately reject. Bangs. But we're not talking about the blunt, heavy bangs from decades ago. Curtain bangs are different. Light, flowing, parted in the middle or swept to the side. They don't cut across your face. They frame it, Paired with soft layers, curtain bangs create movement that lifts the eye. They can soften a high forehead, balance fuller cheeks, or draw attention to your eyes in the best way. And they're low commitment. If you decide they're not for you, they grow out beautifully and blend right in. What makes curtain bangs magical is the energy they carry. There's something playful, artistic, alive about them. They whisper confidence, and when blended with gentle layers around the face, they add that final touch of grace, like the right necklace finishing an outfit. If you've been afraid to try something new, curtain bangs might be your gentle first step. A change that doesn't scream, it simply speaks, bringing it together. These 3 styles, the soft bob, the textured lob, and curtain bangs with layers, all share something in common. They don't try to change who you are, they celebrate you. They reflect movement, warmth, and presence. They lift your features instead of dragging them down. They adapt to your lifestyle, not the other way around. And most importantly, they give you back to yourself. Let's bring this home. This isn't about hair, it's about coming home. By now, you've likely realized this wasn't really a video about hair. Yes, we talked about styles, about what no longer works and what might suit you better. We talked about softness, movement, and shape. But underneath all of it, we were talking about something deeper. Your reflection and your relationship with it. Because how we see ourselves, truly see ourselves, shapes everything. It shapes how we walk into a room, how we speak, how we feel when no one's looking. Hair is simply one of the most immediate ways to bring alignment between who we are inside and what the world sees on the outside. When those 2 things match, something beautiful happens. You stop performing, you start inhabiting. You stop hiding behind styles that were once right but no longer serve. You stop shrinking beneath outdated rules about what women should look like after a certain age. And you step into your fullness. Not with noise, but with quiet certainty. You don't need to go short to be taken seriously. You don't need to stay long to prove you've still got it. You need a reflection that feels like you. Because beauty isn't a standard. It's a resonance, a truth. And the more your outer appearance reflects your inner reality, the more whole you feel. So wherever you are on your hair journey, whether you've worn the same style for 20 years or you're ready for something bold, remember this. You're not starting over. You're coming home. Home to the woman you've become. Home to the softness you've earned. Home to the strength that doesn't shout, but is felt the moment you enter a room. And if a haircut can support that return, if even one change in how you wear your hair helps you feel more like yourself, then it's worth exploring. Not because you need fixing, but because you deserve reflection. So look in the mirror tomorrow with fresh eyes. Tilt your head, let your hair fall differently. Imagine a version of you that feels lighter, brighter, more whole. And then ask yourself, is it time to come home to me? Thank you for being here, for listening, for caring enough to rediscover yourself in new ways. Your story's not done. Your beauty's not past. You're still becoming, and the best part, you get to choose how you show up next.